Fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
2 rounds of the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Power Series have already taken place, and they have turned up the heat in terms of action for this brilliant Sprint Car Championship. For round 3, we come to the magnificent Lernerville Speedway in the wonderful state of Pennsylvania in the United States. We're looking forward to seeing how this big field of sprint cars tackles the high-banked turns and lack of wall around the outside of the corners here at this great track. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box is Cameron Dance. Cam, what a great start to the season we've had. Round 1 at Volusia, round 2 at Cedar Lake, and we got a debut winner last week as well in the form of Clayton Davies. So this championship is looking like it's going to be very mixed.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's looking like it's going to be a very, very close fight at the top of the standings, and it's certainly going to be very, very unpredictable in who's going to be ending up where in terms of feature wins or podiums or anything like that. So looking forward to seeing what the rest of the season is going to hold and what we may or may not expect throughout the season.
Indeed. So, Lernerville Speedway, quite the interesting track and one of the newer additions to iRacing's dirt content. It's located in Sava, Pennsylvania, not too far from the city of Pittsburgh, out there in the United States Midwest, which is an incredible spot for dirt oval racing. There's a lot of history to these places, and they always draw the crowds. There is Lernerville. You see the pit lane on the outside of the 3rd and 4th turns there, with the run to the start finish punctuated by a turn that is a bit more banked on the outside line at the exit. So the drivers will be looking to use that to get some extra momentum on their qualifying laps when the quick time comes up. And as you can see, the only wall on the outside of the circuit is the one down the start-finish straight. There is just a complete drop outside the banked turns of this circuit, Cam. If you push a bit too hard, if you run a bit too high, you'll just go sailing over.
Seen in previous series, whether it be the big modifieds, the 410s, or anything else, that outside edge can really catch you out so unexpectedly and so quickly if you're not careful. So wouldn't be surprised if we see a few more cars ending up over that edge and going down the hills for a little bit of a trip tonight. But nevertheless, it's one of those things you're just going to have to take as a risk when you're running that top line.
Indeed you are. 0.4 miles Lernerville is, and these are the championship standings as they are coming into this third round. Tim Ryan still leading the championship by some margin there over Daniel Gow. Daniel Hardigan in third, Braden Shute in fourth. They've kept up some consistent results in the top five over the first couple of rounds. Harry Stewart grabbing a podium at the first round at Volusia, but unfortunately not able to capitalize on that at Cedar Lake, 1 point behind Braden Shute. Missing from the top 10 here is Clayton Davies, the winner of round 2 at Cedar Lake in the 35 lap feature. And well, I think if that kind of form is anything to go by, he's certainly going to be mounting a challenge. But still, it's looking very competitive in especially the second half of the top 10, with Thomas Mitchell and Aidan Beerline on equal points.
Is very, very close and very, very competitive amongst that top 10. And obviously there's a few outliers just outside the top 10, the likes of Clayton Tilley and that, like you mentioned. So it'll be interesting to see what will happen as the season goes on and who's going to end up rising up through the standings as they get more points on the board.
Indeed. Well, behind these championship standings, you can see the traces of Lernerville Speedway. The top line there in the last couple of turns. You see the progressive banking of the circuit as well. It's flatter down on the bottom, very highly banked up at the top. So initially, you'll see a lot of drivers running probably a bit of a middle line and working the bottom. But as the track comes into its own, you're really going to see the top line come to fruition, and there'll still be a little strip of fresh clay at the very top of the berm right there, as you can see in this B-roll. But you've got to be very careful. You dip a right rear over that and you're as good as gone, as we've seen in many other series so far. So starting to get a bit of the all clear for practice, as I'm seeing Blake Walsh and Joshua Dennison starting to make their way out onto the circuit, or just stopping at pit lane exit, waiting for their first couple of laps here tonight. The drivers only get a limited amount of practice before we move into the quick time session, and Cameron, it's business as usual. 3 minutes of qualifying, and each driver gets 2 laps. But the question on my mind is, what's going to be the preferred line for a quick lap in these clean track conditions?
To see who ends up making what line work, and you have to remember that very, very bottom side of the racetrack is slightly flat as well. It's not really all that banked, especially through turns 3 and 4. So you might find some drivers will try various different things. They might go a little bit lower through turns 1 and 2, but might go right up against the outside edge in 3 and 4. We'll have to see and see who's going to put it on top.
And making an appearance once again is Joel Berkeley, the winner of the Big Block Modified Madness series. He's back in the game in this championship after missing a couple of rounds there and not getting a good points haul in round 1. But we'll see if he can challenge Tim Ryan up at the top. Here's Joe Daly for Frog Leap. Let's see how he goes on his first qualifying lap, going low in 1 and 2 as you predicted, Cam, and going high in 3 and 4. So you are Nostradamus, Mr. Dance. 13.0 for his first lap. Josh Barry currently quickest on a 12.9.
Yeah, very, very nice lap from Josh Barry, but we'll see what a few others can do. Harry Stewart's not going to be further up the field, which is a little bit interesting. I thought he would have been a lot bit higher. Davies, though, from last week, currently in P4, and starting to see a few more drivers start to set representative lap times. Artard goes to P4, Daniel Evans to P2, as well as Blake Walsh to P3. It's very, very close to the top of the moment.
Braden Miller coming across the line, setting a 13.6, and that's putting him down the order quite a bit. Aiden Beerline is also making his way out onto the circuit, as we've had just over half of our drivers setting lap times so far. Daniel Evans, Blake Walsh, Dylan DeBono, Alex Attard and Lachlan Barberry have all put themselves in between Josh Barry and Clayton Davies. Some really competitive showings from some drivers here. And we see coming out onto the track Mr. Berkey as Beerline comes around the final couple turns to set his first time, 13.489, and that's quite a ways down on that particular one. Let's see if he can improve at all on his second lap. Brady Baldwin setting a 13.6 in his first outing, and seems that I'm not quite getting those times on my end of the equation. Brady Baldwin, though, setting a 13th lap there, putting himself just ahead of Clayton Davies by 1,000th of a second. Brenton Hobson making his way through in qualifying as well, setting a 13.1. Tim Ryan, though, has claimed pole position, as you can see, just pipping Josh Barry to pole by 0.014 of a second. And the number 9 of Joel Berkeley, well, he's left it as late as possible to get his times on the board. 13.1 to start things off. His fastest, a 13.003, which is good enough for P4 in the quick time standings. But as the session draws to a close, it looks like Tim Ryan has done enough there to secure himself $2.50 in cold hard cash, getting the quick time there. So great performance from our championship leader. Those are the qualifying results. And as you can see, the top 10 covered by less than 1/10 of a second, with the American Garrett Halsey putting himself in P10. So then, it's time to go through into the first heat of the night. Tim Ryan and Matthew Gowans are going to be starting on the front row, with Chris Lacey and Trent Gosley behind them. Clayton Tilley and Jake Hodges 5th and 6th, with Cody Lawrence and Ash Hammond sharing the 4th row of the grid there. Thomas Mitchell, Josh Dennison and Jaden Russell rounding out our 11-car field here. And that's a pretty stacked first half of the field, Cam, with Trent Gosley starting from 4th place. I think he's going to be giving Tim Ryan quite a run for his money once they get going. Clayton Tilley as well, looking to work his way forward as the top 4 will transfer through into the feature.
Fine, Jaden Russell will be wanting to make his way on forward through this field as well, starting all the way back in 11th at the back of the grid. Didn't actually set a time in qualifying, which is a little bit interesting, but nevertheless, he's in this heat at least, and he's going to have to have a lot of work in front of him to get by and into those transfer spots.
Indeed he is, but Matthew Gowans and Chris Lacey have really come on strong in the quick time session, setting some fantastic lap times there to put themselves 2nd and 3rd. So I reckon they're going to be putting up quite the challenge to Gosley, Tilley, and others behind them, trying to make their way forward. You start on the exit of the pit lane here at Lernerville Speedway, making their way out onto the racetrack on the outside of turn 4. And as they come out, you're going to get another sense for just how steep the banking is in that final turn, as we are now pulling away 2 formation laps here behind the pace truck. And Tim Ryan, I think, is going to lead them away very strongly. He has a habit of really nailing these starts.
Very, very strong at getting the start, or timing the starts very, very well, and managing to get a nice gap over the rest of the field so he can just glance away from everybody else and stay away from the carnage and just get a nice and easy win. So we'll see what he's going to do and whether he ends up being challenged by anyone else, whether that be Goins, Gosley, Hodges, or even the likes of Tilley and Russell.
Yes, indeed. Well, one more lap here behind the pace truck, and then we can get going. The drivers will be looking out for that bollard on the inside of turn 4, the orange and white striped stick down on the inside of the corner. That's roughly where the starting zone is, so Tim Ryan will be looking out for that. Everyone else behind them will be looking to react as best as they possibly can. So the championship leader is going to lead them away here. And how early is he going to decide to go? Right in the middle of turns 3 and 4. And he's caught everyone by surprise, leading the way across the line as we're racing at Lernerville. Matthew Gowans, though, slotting into second. Oh, there's been some contact back there. Cody Lawrence getting into Clayton Tilley. That's put him all the way back into 9th.
Yeah, it has, but Jane Russell's wasted no time moving through this field, already starting to challenge for that final few transfer spots. He's just going to slip on by Cody Lawrence around the outside and is currently sitting in about P6, and that's the wall for him.
Goodness me, that was a big hit there. So that is Jaden Russell out of this heat. Very ignominious way to end it. And oh, it's happened again. It looks like Trent Gosley getting in contact there with the number 8 of Matthew Gowans, who is on his side. No cautions in these heats. Gosley put on a great slide job to get himself by Matthew Gowans, but that has not worked out for him at all. Tim Ryan's been given a massive lead out of that, so it's now Jake Hodges, Ash Hammond, and Chris Lacey, but now Clayton Tilley completing the top 4 as Tilley moves ahead of Lacey, who was missing his front wing after that massive contact.
Yeah, certainly. And how's the luck for Tilley to go from being pretty much at the back of the field after the end of lap 1 to now being within the transfer spots in a matter of corners? It's really, really lucky, and having to get a little bit of a check-up as well. Remember Ash Hammond getting a little bit too sideways. Big slide job from Tilley on the way through 1 and 2, but up the inside is going to get Hammond, and that's one over the bank as well.
Yeah, Chris Lacey going over the banking there and into the boats down at the bottom. Tim Ryan just getting passed by Cody Lawrence there as he goes to start his final, goes to win actually. Tim Ryan winning the heat there. These laps going by very quickly. Hodges and Tilley complete the podium. Ash Hammond completing the top 4. Our final 3 finishers are going to be Thomas Mitchell, Joshua Dennison, and Cody Lawrence. So Lacey, Gowans, Gosley, and Russell all retiring from that heat. And with Jaden Russell disconnecting from the server, I think that's his night over, barely a lap or so in.
Not the way that he will have hoped to have started this night off at all, with no qualifying time, and then ending up in the fence on the exit of turn 4 as well. So unfortunately, that's not going to bode well for his championship, but nevertheless, that is the results of Heat 1, and Heat 2 is about to start gritting out.
Yeah, you saw Matthew Gowans at the back of those results because he's been given a black flag by race control for initiating that contact with Trent Gosley. Here's the grid for Heat 2. Barry and DeBono on the front row with Barbary and Daly 3rd and 4th. Braden Shute and Braden Miller, the 2 Bradens, completing the top 6. Scott Reed and Cameron De Bruin in 7th and 8th. And it's Jason Crawford, Brad O'Brien, and Damien Powell who are rounding out this 11-car field. And Brad O'Brien starting a fair way back there, but we know how skilled he is in sprint cars, and he's going to be one of those drivers really looking to make his way forward.
He certainly is, especially starting all the way down on the final row of
He's late coming out of pit lane too, sorry. Well. Yeah, indeed. He was late coming out of pit lane, was Brad O'Brien, so he's going to have to take up his spot quick sharp. Josh Barry, of course, leading them away, but Dylan DeBono going to be starting alongside him. I reckon that's going to be a close race there at the top.
Yeah, certainly should be a very, very close one, and very much challenged by any of those top 6, really. Pretty much anyone in this field, really, in this heat can come away with a possible transfer spot out of this heat.
Well, we'll see what happens then. The pace truck pulls off into the pit lane. Josh Barry is going to go any moment now, leading them away. It's a bit more of an even start this time around. Dylan DeBono staying with him as down on the inside, the number 47, trying his best to get the slide job done was Lachlan Barberry, but it hasn't worked out for him. We've already got one over. We've got 2. Barberry into the wall, and Damien Powell sailing over the banking. Barberry has ended up on his side, so that's going to be a retirement for him. Josh Barry, though, still leading as Brad O'Brien tries working his way forward. Have a look at everyone down on the bottom there. Daly and Miller in particular getting challenged by Braden Shute, who is in high up position in the championship, third, I believe, with Josh Barry. No, he's in fourth, actually, in the championship is Braden Shute. Barry starting to get a gap on here versus Dylan DeBono as Shute goes for another slide job. We got another car in the wall, Scott Reed, and he has collected Brad O'Brien.
It looks like that's been the case, unfortunately. Brad O'Brien now missing his front wing and possibly having a little bit of extra damage as well, and shoots in the wall at the final corner too.
And Cameron De Bruin had nowhere to go. Major contact between those guys. It seems a lot of drivers are really falling victim to Lernerville's walls and bankings here tonight. They're going to have to sort that out before they get onto the feature. Damien Parle calling for a review on number 12, Jason Crawford. Seems that he's not too happy with Mr. Crawford for an incident there, but Crawford continuing on his way. He's currently in 5th place as it's the last lap for Josh Barry. He's kept that lead very nicely, built a good gap over Dylan DeBono, and takes the heat win there with Joe Daly completing the podium and Braden Miller finishing in 4th place after starting from 6th. Jason Crawford was able to make up 4 spots there. But, wow. It's a race of attrition in a lot of these heats, isn't it, Cam?
That seems to be the case, unfortunately, with a number of cars ending up in that outside wall out of turn 4 and possibly just getting a little bit caught out by the way the track is changing. It looks like it's getting a little bit slick up there as well, so it wouldn't surprise me if a few people getting caught out there, but certainly isn't too ideal ending up in that wall at all.
No, certainly not. You see Damien Parle, of course, classified last after that incident on the first lap. So now we're into Heat 3. It's Daniel Evans who's going to lead them away. Brady Baldwin, Clayton Davies, Harry Stewart, your top 4, with Sean Stevens and Nathan Norman taking up row 3. Daniel Selleck and Travis Parrott on row 4. Jackson Delamont and Alan Sollett completing the 10-car field here tonight. There's going to be 5 heats here at Lernerville this evening. So with Daniel Evans leading them away, and series organizer Brady Baldwin putting himself onto the racing grid for the first time this season. I'm interested to see how this heat is going to work out, because they have the previous round's winner in Clayton Davies behind them, as well as United Sim Sports' Harry Stewart, who we know is a force to be reckoned with in sprint cars.
Yeah, dirt racing in general is a force to be reckoned with the fact that he's pretty handy behind the wheel of anything related to dirt, so we'll see how he goes, and he's certainly going to challenge for the race win, you'd have to think, but any of those top 4, it's going to be all on between them to get the race win here and come away with those transfer spots.
It's Kiwis in 2nd and 4th. So let's see how they can stack up versus the Aussies here as the pace truck pulls away and off the circuit. Let's see how early Daniel Evans decides to go. Right in the middle of turns 3 and 4 once again, and he's gotten a great exit from the rest of the field. Davies, though, already working the inside and making his way past Baldwin, but Baldwin getting a slightly better exit. He was stymied, though, across the top of the track, and Harry Stewart is really starting to pressure them as well. Fantastic battle in the top 4 as it's side by side for 5th and 6th. Into turn 1, Nathan Norman just edging himself ahead of Sean Stevens as Jackson Delamont had a compromised exit and has fallen back into 8th place.
Yeah, and that's another one in turn 4 wall, Sean Stevens.
Oh dear, and it looks like he took Jackson Delamont with him, as well as Alan Sollett, who's missing his front wing as well. Very intense racing here as Harry Stewart has made his way past Brady Baldwin, and they are battling quite fiercely amongst themselves. It's brought Nathan Norman into contention, so the top 5 altogether, and the transfer spot is on. That's going to be quite the race towards the end, but Daniel Evans, it seems, just holding off the advances of Clayton Davies for now.
Nearly just holding on at the moment, but he's doing everything that he needs to at this stage. Decides to go to the lower line this time through 1 and 2 rather than using the higher line, and seems to work for him, and it seems to be the better line as well, with the fact that the top side is starting to get a little bit slicker. And now Harry Stewart all over the back of Clayton Davies as they come through 1 and 2. Stewart using that top line seems to have had momentum on his side. A little bit of contact as well on the way down the back straight, and Stewart deciding to duck down to the bottom side, the very bottom side of the racetrack, but he's making that top side through 1 and 2 work very, very well at the moment.
Indeed he is, but it is the last lap. He's got one more chance here to throw a slider up the inside. But Daniel Evans is going to take victory. Just behind Jackson Delamont there, with Davies finishing in second, Stewart in third, Nathan Norman managing to beat Brady Baldwin to fourth place there. So Brady is going to have to work his way up through the consolations after a strong qualifying performance. Daniel Selleck is going to finish in sixth, and then it's Solid, Parrott, and Delamont. Your last finishers, Sean Stevens, of course, with that contact in the turn 4 exit wall, working out to a retirement from that heat. Here we go then. Heat 4. It is time once again. Joel Berkeley going to qualify on the front row for this one with Alex Attard alongside him. Daniel Boyd and Vince Romeo on row 2. Matthew Ralph and Greg Chandler starting 5th and 6th, with Brenton Hobson starting in 7th alongside Jamie Budd, and Jacob Dixon and Jason Burke rounding out our 10 cars for this one. So, Joel Berkeley back in the hot seat after missing the last round at Cedar Lake. Let's see what he's got.
I'll see what he has indeed gotten, whether he's going to be able to challenge anything at all, but certainly it's going to be very, very packed heat, this one, and certainly going to be one that we're going to have to keep an eye on to see who's going to come away in what positions, and those transfer spots are very much going to be hotly contested.
Yeah, indeed they are. Brenton Hobson going to be starting from 7th place. He'll be trying to work his way forward as best he can, but Vince Romeo, or I think Vince Romeo is the correct pronunciation of his name, going to be working hard for it as well. Joel Berkeley, I just saw testing the start there behind the pace truck, looking for the perfect throttle application out of turns 3 and 4, and that might have given Alex Attard a hint as to when he's going to decide to go. But remember, you can't overtake your rivals before the start-finish line, so he's going to have to be careful how quickly he responds, or if he ends up jumping the gun versus Berkeley in the number 9. Here we go then. Start time. Joel Berkeley leading them away, and goes early again between turns 3 and 4. Gets a lovely exit as Alex Attard just got his outside wheels into the wall. Running a bit wide was Vince Romeo, and he's translated that into some great momentum, challenging Daniel Boyd once again for 3rd place as it's on for the lead. Alex Attard, who has shown himself to be quite a fierce competitor in this series, working the high side, putting himself in contention versus Joel Berkeley, moves for the lead, but Berkeley's going to get him again on the exit.
And Attard's going to try and do the cut and over on the exit of turn 2, but not quite going to get the drive in the end, and as a result going to drop back a little bit from Joel Berkeley. Just in behind, though, it's all on between Boyd and Romeo at the moment, between those two, and just in behind them, Greg Chandler looking to try and pounce, as well as Hobbo.
Indeed, Brenton Hobson making his way up to 6th place as the final 3 positions running. Ralph, Dixon and Burke, they are starting to fall back. Oh no, Alex Attard has gone into the wall, and that's put himself all the way to the back of the grid, almost half a lap behind Joel Berkeley. So that is the battle for the lead effectively over, and it's a great battle now for 2nd place as Daniel Boyd leading the way, with Greg Chandler trying to challenge. Vince Romeo coming towards the inside, working the middle of the track, trying his best to get the exit, but doesn't seem to be working out for him for the time being. Also getting into the wall was Jacob Dixon. He's lost a bit of momentum there versus Matthew Ralph. Brenton Hobson moving for 4th place versus Greg Chandler. That's the battle for the transfer spot. They lock wheels down the start-finish straight. Hobbo, though, doesn't back out. This is fantastic racing as Vince Romeo is falling off the back. Oh, he almost went over the berm there, didn't he, Cam? As the final lap. Oh, Joel Berkeley. Goodness me. What on earth has happened to Joel Berkeley? He spun out of the last turn. Wow, it looks like he's
the line, though.
Yeah, he did cross the line, so he preserves that heat win. But my goodness, that was a bit of a hairy end to Heat 4. Berkeley, Boyd, Chandler, and Romeo, your top 4. Brenton Hobson couldn't quite get it done there versus the 077, with Matthew Ralph coming home in 6th. Jason Burke working his way up from the back of the grid to 7th place. Jacob Dixon finishing in 8th. Alex Attard, though, he's going to be very unhappy with himself there after a mistake in the battle with Joel Berkeley. I'm going to have to double check how that worked out, but we're going to get a start here. Blake Walsh and Garrett Halsey on the front row for Heat 5 with Max Lumsden and Aidan Bierlein on row 2. Craig Dunn and Hayden Vickers in 5th and 6th there on the 3rd row. Next up, we scroll a bit down the order, and it's going to be Isaac Roos, Max Bevan, Daniel Weaver, and Cooper Dunn rounding out the last 2 rows. And Isaac Roos has been given an end-of-line penalty before the race start by race control. I think that might have been for a practice or qualifying infraction.
May also be a carryover from penalties, possibly from last round as well, maybe.
Yeah, that's entirely possible there. So we'll be getting a start very shortly, but as we do, Cam, I'm going to double-check what happened to Alex Attard in the battle with Joel Berkeley. I'm just seeing it now. Looks to me like he just ran over the berm on the outside of turn 4, and that's what got him into the wall. So he will indeed be ruining that mistake.
Yeah, certainly will be very much ruining that mistake, and hoping that he doesn't make that again tonight, with the fact that he's going to have some hard work ahead of him. But nevertheless, we'll have to see what he can do from where he's going to end up being.
Blake Walsh leads them away. We are green for the 5th and final heat, and that's a very bad start there from Garrett Halsey. And oh, that's resulted in a spin just up ahead. Goodness me. Sailing over was Max Lumsden, and Max Bevan has also made his way over the berm as well. A very chaotic start here for Heat 5, so Blake Walsh has run away with it at the front. It is on for second, though. Garrett Halsey getting a great exit versus Aidan Bierlein and jetting through into second. Is for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It is Bierlein, Vickers, and Dunn. Let's see if Cooper Dunn can get it done for that transfer spot.
Yeah, let's see if he's going to be able to get in, in on and by the car of Hayden Vickers, who's making that top line work very well. The bottom line seems to have dropped off a little bit at the moment, but to see what happens as Vickers with a little bit of a mistake there, possibly showing signs of pressure.
Yeah, looking like it. Max Lumsden is disconnected from the server. I think that's night over for him. Blake Walsh untroubled in the lead as Garrett Halsey trying his best to fend off Aidan Bierlein. And 4th place now, still held by Hayden Vickers, but we'll have to wait and see if Cooper and Craig Dunn make their way past him. Blake Walsh, though, completely untroubled as have a look at this great battle for 2nd place. Aidan Bierlein working the top, and just moving to the middle was Garrett Halsey, trying to get a bit of momentum up. Max Lumsden's reconnected to the server, so it looks like he is going to continue tonight. Walsh, though, starting to hit some traffic in the form of Max Bevan, who we saw getting over the berm on lap 1. We'll see if that stymies him at all. It is white flag for Blake Walsh, and he has a very good gap, so it looks unlikely that he's going to lose it. And coming out of turn 4, he will take victory in Heat 5. Bierlein 2nd, Halsey 3rd, with Hayden Vickers keeping up position 4 and getting that free ticket through into the feature.
Just enough in the end, did Vickers to make that work, and a little bit of a mistake as well from behind, but certainly going to be very, very happy to get that automatic transfer into the A-main.
Looks like Hayden Vickers has fallen back to 6th place on the results screen, so that's promoted Aidan Bierlein into 4th place there. So Hayden Vickers is going to have to work his way through the. Oh goodness me! Looks like I've made a bit of a mistake there. Those are the results, as you can see. Walsh, Bierlein, Vickers, and Dunn there in 4th place. So there was a bit of a problem there. Garrett Halsey and Matthew Gowans have been given an end-of-line penalty here for the start of the C main. Braden Shute and Travis Parrott are going to lead them away, with Dixon also starting in 3rd. Halsey lining up 4th on the grid, but he's going to get an end-of-line penalty. Trent Gosley and Scott Reed completing the top 6. In 7th, it's going to be Jackson Delamont, with Alex Attard starting in 8th. He'll be looking for some redemption from his heat. Isaac Roos starting from 9th, but getting off to a good start there. Jaden Russell will line up in P10. Lachlan Barbary, Sean Stevens, Jamie Budd, Max Lumsden, Matthew Gowans, and Damien Parle rounding out the field. And Gowans also has an end-of-line penalty, so he's going to move back another position as well.
This field very much shaken up with the fact that there's been so many penalties handed out to move drivers back to the end of line as well. So it's going to promote a few drivers up the order and give them a little bit more hope of making it through to the B main, but it's certainly still going to be very, very hard work with only 2 going through.
Yes, indeed. And drivers like Trent Gosley and Alex Attard are certainly going to be trying to work their way forward. Garrett Halsey also trying to look for some redemption here, having been given a black flag, I believe, for the incident in his heat. So let's see how they get off to the start here. The number 76 of Braden Shute is going to lead them away. And he's left it a bit later this time than in previous starts, but he still gets a good start. That's not a good start at all for Travis Parrott. He went into the wall as the field swallowed him up, and that's resulted in a crash with multiple cars involved. Alex Attard involved in that as well as Jamie Budd. Travis Parrott's been black flagged for that. But the race continues. Trent Gosley has already made his way up into 3rd place now with Scott Reed and Jaden Russell in hot pursuit. And Jaden Russell, we thought that he was retired from this race, but made his way back in as that's a big slide job there from Isaac Roos. Just managed to avoid the other cars getting into him there as Jacob Dixon now is starting to work the bottom line. With Trent Gosley now moving up into 2nd. That is the transfer spot. No, there we go. Dixon over the edge.
Yeah, and that's pretty much going to put an end to the night for Jacob Dixon. Unfortunately, just that small mistake has cost him oh so dearly. But Jaden Russell now into 3rd place and looking to try, 4th place, sorry, looking to try and make it onto the podium and try and catch up with Trent Gosley with about 5 laps to go.
Yeah, it's a 10-lap race here in the C main. Scott Reed and Jaden Russell in 3rd and 4th, trying to gain some time here on Trent Gosley, but Braden Shute still leading the way in the bright green machine out in front. Well, bright green on my end, it's yellow here on the broadcast, a nice golden colour. I really do have to update my trading paints, I think, but Gosley starting to come under some pressure here from Scott Reed. Let's see if he can hold him off.
Yeah, let's see if he can indeed hold him off. He's not got much longer to try and hold on to the position, but that can all change very, very quickly in a short matter of time as Gosley very much under pressure now from Scott Reed.
Lachlan Barbary's been black flagged for an incident, and just after that he spun Matthew Gowans around as well, so not a good night there for Lachlan Barbary. Here we go, the final lap begins. It is white flag for Braden Shute, white flag for Trent Gosley, and for Scott Reed, who's going to try and pass him here at the final couple of turns, goes all the way to the bottom, but Gosley with the momentum around the outside, contact from behind between Jackson Delamont and Jaden Russell, but it is going to be Braden Shute and Trent Gosley moving through into the B main.
Very, very close finish there between Gosley and Reed. I thought Reed might have had it, but in the end, it just wasn't quite in the end. So Gosley and Shute going to be very happy to move on to the B main, but they're going to be starting way down the back in this 18-car field.
They certainly are. Those are the results then. And you see how close the gap was for 2nd place between Trent Gosley and Scott Reed. It was a very hard-fought battle there for the final transfer spot. And Alex Attard only managing to come home in P10 there, so it looks like his night is over as well. All of these drivers will be going home. Jamie Budd, along with Travis Parrott, Damien Parle, Barbary, Dixon, Roos, they're all going to be going home after retirements there. But now it is time for the B main. It's going to be 14 laps, and the top 4 from this will transfer through and make up the final 4 spots on the feature grid. Thomas Mitchell and Jason Crawford are going to lead them away. But it looks like Thomas Mitchell has not taken to the grid. He's there in pit lane, but not out on the field. So Jason Crawford is going to be the first starter on the outside here tonight, with Brady Baldwin and Brenton Hobson on row 2. Craig Dunn and Joshua Dennison completing the top 6 there. Remember, these guys are all going to be promoted up a position because Mitchell has not taken to the grid. De Bruin and Selleck, Ralph and Weaver, Lawrence and O'Brien rounding out the top 12, with the final spots being Alan Sollett, Jason Burke, Max Bevan, Chris Lacey, and the top 2 from our C-Main, Braden Shute and Trent Gosley. So would have been 18 cars, but it's going to be 17 this time round. And I'm wondering why Thomas Mitchell didn't take to the grid.
Yeah, very, very mysterious for him to have not taken it to the grid, but he is sitting in pit lane waiting, so he might come out and rejoin the race, but he's going to end up probably a lap down by the time he gets out. So not the start that he's going to have wanted at all. And off and racing, we are away, in a very, very good jump from Brady Baldwin.
Yeah, fantastic. Another good jump from Craig Dunn as well. That's demoted Jason Crawford down to 3rd, but he's going to try and get it done here as Brenton Hobson, whoa, really pressuring for the podium positions here. So Jason Crawford now into the 4th and final transfer spot, as we have cars in the wall on the exit of turn 4. Daniel Selleck and Thomas Mitchell, who's made his way out onto the circuit too little too late, unfortunately. It looks like Selleck is stuck out there on the pit lane exit. He's probably going to end up retiring from this. Brad O'Brien's been given a black flag from race control. I think he might have had something to do with that incident.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably the case, and unfortunately that's pretty much going to mean night over, and Craig Dunn's in the wall too.
Goodness me, tumbling over onto the inside of the circuit. I'm wondering if there's going to be a penalty coming someone's way there as well. Going to take a brief look and see what happened to him. Now, he just got into the outside wall by himself once again, running a bit too high. So Brady Baldwin, with the mother of all leads here in the B main, he's pretty much guaranteed that win at the moment, as Hobson was on real charge. He's moved himself up into 2nd now, and Cameron De Bruyne is mixing it with Jason Crawford and Matthew Ralph for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. But have a look at Braden Shute just behind. He's making himself known to these guys and looking to get himself into that top 4 transfer, just getting into the wall down the start-finish stretch. But Shute's looking reasonably comfortable there on the outside.
Yeah, he's certainly really ripping the cushion at the moment, right up against that outside lip, and very much trying to make it work as best as he can to try and catch these guys, which he is very much doing, running a much better lap time than any of these guys. So he's going to be right within this pack in no time, and should be able to get on by them very, very quickly.
Let's see then, round the outside he goes. He's really in it now as there's contact between Crawford and Ralph. Shute on the outside line, really making himself a part of this action as De Bruyne is stuck in the middle of the circuit, 3 wide across the start-finish line, and there's contact between De Bruyne and Ralph, and that set them back further again. So that's put, oh no, over the top of the circuit goes Cameron De Bruyne. He rejoins though, but a few positions down. So Braden Shute has made his way up into 3rd now. Hobson maintaining that 2nd spot, but this is the battle for the transfer spot. Jason Crawford and Matthew Ralph as Brady Baldwin coming across the line. Have a look at Braden Shute alongside Brenton Hobson now to take 2nd place. But, oh, goodness me, Shute cutting the inside of the corner there. A bit too much of a turn in for the number 78, but I think Brenton Hobson won't be too fussed about that. He is still pretty much guaranteed a podium finish at this stage unless he makes a mistake. They only have 1 lap to go next time by. The battle for 4th is still on though. Matthew Ralph and Jason Crawford both together. Crawford flinging it into turns 3 and 4 to try and get a leg up on the number 21, but doesn't look like it's going to work out for him. Ralph just staying ahead. Meanwhile, up the front, Brady Baldwin taking the win in the B main. Braden Shute in 2nd, Brenton Hobson in 3rd, and after starting in 4th, he'll be happy with that one. Braden Shute, of course, starting from the back of the grid, so that's a great run from him. And Matthew Ralph, after starting 9th, finishing 4th, that's another great run as well.
Yeah, certainly a very, very good run and the end, and those top 4 all going to be going through to the A main here Everybody else, unfortunately, going to have to pack up the trailers and head on off out of the circuit to what's going to be the next round.
Indeed. And it's going to be a long 6-day wait from here until the next race day. Those are your results. Our retirements being Selleck, Dunn, O'Brien, Lawrence, and Lacey, with Thomas Mitchell coming home in 13th place after missing the start and the first lap. So now we get into the warm-up session where we'll be looking to get the pole shuffle going. And it's going to be the top 2 from each heat competing in 1v1 battles to decide the starting order for this third round of the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Power Series. We're going to go on an extremely short break here at SimSpeed TV just to catch our breath after this fantastic opening salvo of the night as Perkley and Ryan having a bit of fun in the pit lane. You're watching the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Power Series presented by SRT Australia.
Are you spending a lot of time looking for setups and struggling for faster lap times? Are you tired of searching online for answers? Would you like to get setups, analysis and tutorials from some of the best sim racers in the world like Ralph Alla, Mitchell de Jong, Martin Krunker, Josh Rogers and many more? If so, virtualracingschool.com is the answer you've been looking for. VRS data packs provide hot laps from our professional coaches for you to analyse and replicate. They provide tutorials that walk you through the fastest laps and what the pros did to achieve the best times. And they provide the setups you need to ensure your car is competitive in both oval and road racing. If you're ready to get faster and reach more podiums sooner than later, just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a free account today.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside of both of them. Maloney.
You're watching the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Power Series, round 3 from Lernerville. The pole shuffle is on. The top 2 from each heat squaring off. First up is Aidan Bierlein and Daniel Boyd. These guys are going to get 2 laps, and then the winner stays on. I believe it's a nice even start between the two of them, with Daniel Boyd getting the inside in turns 1 and 2, but around the outside, Aidan Bierlein getting the traction and protecting the inside once again from Daniel Boyd. Lap 1 complete, only 1 to go, and it looks like Bierlein has this covered, Cam.
Yeah, it certainly does look like he's got this covered, although Boyd's going to try and have one final go at it around the outside, and he's not quite going to make it work in the end, so Bierlein's going to move on to the next round.
Wow, good stuff there from Aidan Bierlein, and a great run from Daniel Boyd on the final lap. It just wasn't enough, though, so Boyd's going to pull back into pit lane, and now Aidan Bierlein just slows down to let Clayton Davies catch up to him. Mr. Davies was the second place finisher in Heat 3, so it's going to be quite interesting to see which of these guys is going to come out on top. Dylan DeBono's moving to the end of pit lane to take up his spot from the loser of this particular skirmish. So another 2 laps. We're going to get ready to go here, Cam.
Yeah, going to get ready to go and light these things up. I'm waiting for the starters' orders, and we are awaiting very much in favour of Davies' start there, as Bierlein's left sleeping a little bit and deciding to run through the middle of the racetrack as well, through 1 and 2, and that's compromised as he's ending up in the slick, and very much looking like it's in favour of Clayton Davies. Is again Bierlein trying to make the bottom work, but it's not quite going to work in his favour this time.
Yeah, it looked like Bierlein was trying to get a couple of goes at the start there, and yeah, he was just caught sleeping. Clayton Davies is going to come across the line in first place that time round and move on to the next round. So Aidan Bierlein back to the pit lane for you, despite a Really good win in the first round of the pole shuffle. Going to have to move himself back, and Dylan DeBono is going to make his way out on track now, take his spot alongside Clayton Davies, going for the outside line here. Davies being the winner of the previous round, electing to go for the inside start, and we are going to go away once again, but have a look at that. Around the outside from DeBono. Davies suffered the same problem that Beerline did in the last round of the pole shuffle. Let's see if he's got the pace advantage over DeBono towards the end of lap 1, going for the slider. Down the insides of turns 3 and 4, trying to maintain momentum around the outside. DeBono challenging him into turns 1 and 2. Going to slow it up slightly off the exit of turn 2, and really pushing. That's contact between Davies and DeBono, and that's going to result in Davies crossing the line in first place. But I'm wondering if that's going to be slightly different there with Davies making that contact to go for the win. DeBono was squeezing him on the inside of the 3rd and 4th turns, though.
Yeah, it was certainly very, very close, and sounds like race control are going to deem that it was indeed contact, and as a result, that sounds like Clayton Davies is going to have his pole shuffle ended there.
That is a shame there for Clayton Davies, but that is the way the cookie crumbles on occasion. DeBono going to stay out on track, and he is joined by Jake Hodges. Now, Mr. Hodges finished 2nd in Heat 1, with Dylan DeBono 2nd place in Heat 2. So it's a battle of the P2s here. We'll see how they go here on the start. Looks like DeBono getting off to a lovely clean start there and beating Jake Hodges off the line. But no, that was a false start there from race control. They're going to make them go again.
You're going to form them up and try again this time around. It was very much an unfair start that time around, so we'll see what's going to happen this time and whether they're going to get even starts, and very much a much more even start. There's gone in between the two of them, and DeBono's up and in the fence.
Well, I'm not too sure what's going to happen now, because Jake Hodges carrying on at full racing speed, and I mean that start as he comes around to complete his first lap just looks like Hodges was fired off the end of turn 4 right into Dylan DeBono, and that contact between the two of them was what sent DeBono around. So Hodges is going to cross the line in first, and it seems that's going to be the way it is. Hodges, though, going off the circuit now, as DeBono continuing out there on circuit. He is pulling to a stop, though. Might be getting a fresh car. Yes, he is. For another run at pole. Blake Walsh is going to make his way out onto the circuit, and Joel Berkeley making his way out onto track as well. Looks like DeBono has made his way back into the pits, so that was very much a non-result there between Hodges and DeBono.
Yeah, that's going to be the way it is, but what's going to happen here between Berkeley and also Walsh? Green flag is in the air, and very much a better start than for Berkeley than Walsh, but Walsh going to throw a slide job on the way through 1 and 2, not going to get the traction, and Berkeley's just going to blow on by at rapid speed, but Walsh is going to try come back at him in some way. Berkeley going to get the white flag this time, and it's going to hold the lead. Walsh throws another slide job on the way through 1 and 2, but can't get the traction down again, and Berkeley's going to slot on by.
Well, there we go. Joel Berkeley in the number 9 is going to come across the line to win this round of the pole shuffle. And that is all she wrote for Blake Walsh. He's going to have to make his way off the circuit, and he does so in spectacular fashion. Just pinned the throttle, coming over the berm, and away he went. So next car out, it seems, due to be Daniel Evans, and Josh Barry is going to be one of the last drivers here to make his way onto the pole shuffle field. So now Evans going to assume the outside line. Some slight technical issues for the number 44. Hopefully that doesn't impact the racing too much. But Berkeley on the inside. The green flag is going to fly. And it's a nice even start between our two runners. But it was a brief advantage there for Daniel Evans. Joel Berkeley throwing the slider up the top, trying to maintain momentum. But there goes Evans again up the inside. And they're both giving each other a wide berth as they come across the line once again. Evans, I think, aware of his technical issues at the moment. And this is the closest race we've seen yet for the pole shuffle. Side by side into turns 3 and 4. Evans leading the way. Berkeley going to try and get him around the outside, but no, he's been put into the wall. But I don't think there was much space there on the outside of Daniel Evans. He is going to move through.
Yeah, I think Joel was just trying to move into a gap that clearly wasn't going to exist and didn't exist really. So fortunately, a bit of hard racing there, and Berkeley's going to come off second best there in the end.
Indeed he is. So now Josh Barry, see if he can make his way towards a run for pole here at Lernerville. Daniel Evans still experiencing some technical issues, disappearing off the circuit. Josh Barry running onto the slick up at the top of the track has allowed Evans a great run down the stretch between turns 2 and 3. But Josh Barry trying to challenge. Doesn't look like it's happening though. Daniel Evans just using that fresh clay in the middle of the circuit to extend his gap over the number 20. Barry having a run at him down in turns 3 and 4, but it's not going to work. And out goes Daniel Evans across the start-finish line. And out goes Mr. Barry out of the pole shuffle. And here is the final boss, you could say, of the pole shuffle. Tim Ryan, the winner of Heat 1. And this is the run for pole.
Yeah, it certainly much is. So it's going to be very, very hotly contested. Place your bets now, ladies and gentlemen, on who you reckon is going to get it. But I'd say you'd be in favour of Tim Ryan more times than not. But we're going to see, regardless, who's going to end up starting on pole. And a very, very nice start from Tim Ryan there indeed.
So he moves ahead of Daniel Evans into turn 1. Loses a slight bit of momentum across the top of turn 2. But maintaining the lead beautifully is Tim Ryan. And when it matters, you can always count on Tim Ryan to put the power down and get himself into the spots that he needs. And he's leaving Daniel Evans behind now. Evans still trying to use the middle of the road to get some advantage, but Ryan's just too far ahead, and he has just secured pole for the 35-lap A main here at Lernerville.
You know, be very, very happy with that. To pretty much have a clean sweep so far tonight, and we'll be hoping to try and continue that through to the A main as well.
Well then, 35 laps around Lernerville, and we have a very slick track with some fresh clay in the middle of the road. So you're going to be seeing drivers pushed very tightly up towards the top of the circuit. So now, all we got to do is wait for the session to tick over, as there's going to be probably a few practice laps before we get going for the feature. So we're going to take another short, quick break here on SimSpeed TV. Make sure that you join us in just a few moments for the 35-lap A main here at Lernerville Speedway.
Hey everyone, the USF 2000 is a blast to drive now, and here's your chance to learn it quickly. From my tutorial, VRS created a free bonus track guide for the Laguna Seca circuit, where you can learn exactly what I do in every corner to improve your lap times and get faster on track. You'll learn how to easily recognize brake markers, you'll find out which curves to attack and which ones to avoid, you'll know when to use the full track and when a sequence of corners requires a compromise, and you'll learn how hard to brake and when to lift. The VRS Quick Reference track maps are available free to download and delivered each week to your inbox. The entire Global MX-5 series is available, as well as bonus maps like this one and many more. So if you're a new racer, or a veteran, or just anyone who wants to learn how to get faster sooner, the VRS track guides are for you. Just hit the link or button on screen and get yours today.
You're watching the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Power Series, Round 3 from Lernerville Speedway. We've seen some fantastic racing here tonight, as we've come to expect from this series. And my goodness, Lernerville does not disappoint, does it, Cam? It's been some very tight, intense racing in the midfields of our heats, some dominant heat wins, and a lot of drivers finding the wall out of turn 4.
Yeah, certainly we've seen a lot of attrition tonight, especially in that turn 4 wall, where a lot of drivers have been caught out by and ending up in it just from track conditions or possibly a little bit of contact. So we'll have to see how many more end up in that wall in the feature, but hopefully not too many, and hopefully we get a nice green flag run to the checkered flag.
Indeed. Well, we're going to go through into our 35-lap feature now, as the session has ticked over from the pole shuffle. Tim Ryan is going to start on pole position, with Daniel Evans starting in second place. The order that you're seeing here on screen is not exactly how they're going to line up. They're going to be changing positions based on where they were in the pole shuffle. So Josh Barry's going to line up third, Joel Berkeley in fourth, Blake Walsh in fifth, Dylan DeBono in sixth. Seventh place is going to be Mr. Hodges. Clayton Davies is going to line up in eighth, with Aidan Beerline and Daniel Boyd rounding out our top 10 as we go down through the rest of the field. Joe Daly and Clayton Tilley going to be starting on row 6, just outside the top 10, with Harry Stewart and Greg Chandler lining up in the 7th row. Row 8 is going to be Hayden Vickers and Ash Hammond, with Braden Miller and Nathan Norman lining up 17th and 18th. Vince Romeo and Cooper Dunn are going to round out the top 20. And it's Brady Baldwin, Braden Shute, Brenton Hobson, and Matthew Ralph rounding out our 24-car field. And Braden Shute currently 4th in the championship, with Daniel Gow and Daniel Hardigan not present here in the feature. He's got a good chance to get some points, but he's going to have to make his way up from a fair way back.
Yeah, he certainly will, to try and get a nice result here, but nevertheless he's shown some very, very good pace and should be able to move his way up through the order to at least get somewhere closer to the top 10, but certainly is quite a few cars that he's going to have to pass here.
Yes, indeed. But Tim Ryan starting from pole position there behind the pace truck. It's going to be quite the run from him off the starting grid. Tim Ryan is known for his very quick starts here in dirt sim racing. And it's going to be tough, I think, for Daniel Evans to try and hold on to him. Josh Barry, Joel Berkeley, Blake Walsh, and Dylan DeBono are going to be giving them all a run for their money here. Ryan pushing them all the way to the top. And it's a great start as we are green flag racing here at Lernerville. Already up into second is Josh Barry, working the inside versus Daniel Evans. And Evans getting the exit, though, coming out of turns 1 and 2. Joel Berkeley trying to work the outside here as the field fans out behind them. It is an absolute cluster of cars through turns 3 and 4 as everyone desperately trying to find a spot. The yellow flag is out. We got a car tumbling over. It's Harry Stewart.
Yeah, and certainly not what he will have wanted at all. And Daniel Evans actually going over the bank as well.
Oh no. So that's no good there. We're going to get a virtual racing school replay here. Harry Stewart coming together with Greg Chandler on the exit of turn 4. Chandler was a bit tight on the outside and Stewart just banged wheels with him. That sent him sideways and right into the pursuing pack. And there's Daniel Evans going over the banking. So losing some positions out of that. Harry Stewart got absolutely collected by Nathan Norman, and that just sent things a cropper for him, with Ash Hammond and Braden Shute also making contact with him as well. Greg Chandler has been given an end-of-line penalty for that. Braden Shute, 4th in the championship, has now lost his front wing. So that is a setback that he would not have wanted.
You certainly won't have wanted that at all, as it's going to compromise his top speed and also compromise the handling of that car quite a bit. So you have to try and wrestle the car around what he's got underneath him, but it's certainly not going to be helping him at all.
What you're seeing up in the top left corner is the total race distance set in the sim. We are manually not counting laps under cautions. So we're actually on lap 2 of the 35 race laps that we're going to get in the feature, and they'll be coming round to start lap 3 when they get going again when the green flag flies. Harry Stewart officially retiring from the races. Tim Ryan leads them away once again, double file off the line, and what a great start from Josh Barry. It's allowed Joel Berkeley to get alongside him as they start lap 3 of racing. The number 97 of Blake Walsh making himself known there in the podium battle as well, with Clayton Davies and Dylan DeBono running side by side for 5th and 6th. Have a look at Daniel Boyd as well. He's really making his way up into the top honours for this race.
He certainly is very much making his way on it forward and trying to recover as well. But Josh Barry and Blake Walsh really doing battle at the front of the field. Walsh trying to make that bottom side work, but it doesn't really look like it's going to be working anytime soon. Nice drive out of turn 2 though, and it's still going to be able to challenge Josh Barry for the final spot inside the top 5, and Clayton Davies also getting amongst it as well.
Clayton Tilley, on the other hand, has had a major setback. He went over the top of the banking and he's fallen towards the rear of the grid. Working the bottom completely is Blake Walsh, trying to find that little bit of fresh clay down at the bottom. It doesn't seem to be working for him in his pursuit of Clayton Davies and Josh Barry. It is a 2-horse race at the front of the field, with Tim Ryan starting to be reeled in by Joel Berkeley.
Definitely is very much starting to be reeled in by Berkeley. He's running that bottom side of the racetrack right up against that grass berm as well, so he's certainly making it work and very much closing that gap down to Tim Ryan, so we could have a battle hot in our hands, and that's car off and over the berm. Jake Hodges in trouble.
Yeah, and he's come to a stop on the exit of the circuit. I think that might be a retirement for him. There's number 50 of Clayton Davies working his way up the inside of Josh Barry, and 3 wide, as that was a little problem for Blake Walsh down at the bottom. Just could not get the drive off the corner. So Aiden Beerline is now in this as well. A 3-way scrap for the 3rd place spot here, and that's really allowing Berkeley and Ryan to get away from everyone. Davies is now up into 3rd place, and let's see if he can challenge Mrs. Ryan and Berkeley for the win.
Exactly, we'll have to see if he can challenge them at all, but it's going to be a very, very hard task with that gap that he's got to them. Is just a little bit of contact behind between Barry and Beerline, and also Blake Walsh still trying to hold that bottom side of the racetrack. There's nearly contact between himself and Barry there on the way through the back straight, but he's going to zoom around the outside as Barry and take the position off Blake Walsh, and Beerline's going to follow him on through.
Tell you what, Walsh is actually getting some great exits out of turn 2, so the bottom line is working well for him there, but moving up to the top line out of turn 4 allows Josh Barry back on through. Yeah, it just seems like the bottom line out of 4 is not as powerful as it is out of turn 2, so I think Walsh is going to have to be very careful of that. Tim Ryan, meanwhile, has extended his gap over Joel Berkeley out at the front, and looks like he's in barely any trouble at all. We are now on lap 15 of 35, coming around to start the 16th race lap that we've completed so far, as Davies now starting to skip away in 3rd. The true battle is for 4th as Walsh and Barry continue to swap places through the turns, and Beerline again making himself known.
Yeah, certainly is making himself known amongst this little battle here, trying to make it work. He's going to get around the outside of Josh Barry, but Barry's going to send the slide job into the mid-track, and Beerline's going to just drive it around the outside on the way through 1 and 2. And Josh Barry, unfortunately, going to start dropping back by the looks of it. Just doesn't quite have the pace under him at the moment.
Well, the drivers behind him will be looking to capitalise on that. We've got DeBono, Boyd, Baldwin, Evans, Hayden Vickers, and Joe Daly, along with Clayton Tilley, all in a massive battle pack here. That's a problem there. Over the berm is Dylan DeBono, and he's going to fall all the way to the back as well. Has to stop to let the leaders go. And I don't know if he's going to find a gap there. It looks like DeBono's made his way back into the pit lane, as we're currently on lap 20 of the race laps. Goodness me. What a fight it has been all throughout the field. But Davies really skipping away in third now as Aidan Beerline tries to catch up to Blake Walsh. Very tight battling in the midfield with Evans, Baldwin, Tilley, Daly, Vickers, Boyd and Braden Shute as well, trying to make their way forward. It is very tight there.
Yeah, very much. As in multiple drivers running various different lines, as Evans nearly has contact with Brady Baldwin there on the way through 1 and 2, but drivers running the bomb side, drivers running the middle line, and drivers running right up against that berm on the outside. It's very much all for keeps here and for play here throughout this field.
Indeed it is. Clayton Davies is now getting properly threatened by Blake Walsh for third place. Davies has lost a bit of pace somewhere along the line. Maybe traffic had something to do with it. But the battle is truly on for third as we check back in with the battle behind. Greg Chandler has fallen over the barrier, over the top wall, sorry. Clayton Tilley, Brady Baldwin, and Josh Barry, 3 abreast across the start-finish line as they start their 25th race lap. It is all to play for that 6th place. And that's all valuable championship points on the line. As Clayton Tilley moves on ahead of them and is now in a gap of his own. Blake Walsh still on the inside as the caution flag is out. There has been an incident somewhere along the line. It looks like it might have been Braden Miller getting tossed onto his side, and looks to me like that was a case of getting the right rear over the top of the banking, and Tim Ryan was very lucky to get away with this. Watch the replay.
And again, that berm catching people out in that turn 4 wall, again claiming another victim, but again Tim Ryan very much getting away with that one. Very close, probably too close for comfort, I'd say.
Yeah, way too close. Fortunately, Tim Ryan seems to have escaped any damage from that. See the car turning over there. Ryan had to turn himself towards the wall to get his trajectory right there. But it seems nothing can phase the number 98. Braden Miller given an end-of-line penalty for bringing out that caution. So we're on lap 26 when the caution came out. So we'll be coming around to start lap 27 when the green flag flies again. There's going to be a proper dash here between Tim Ryan and Joel Berkeley. Joel has been given a bit of a lifeline here.
He certainly has, and so is the rest of the field behind as well. It's a possible challenge for the race win. Ryan goes very early though and has caught Joel Berkeley off guard, who's now going to be coming under attack from Davies and Walsh, who are going to go down to the bottom side of the racetrack. Davies throws the slide job on Berkeley, but Berkeley's going to drive it straight on by. Walsh gets very loose on the exit of 2, in contact between Davies and Beerline as well, who's trying to get amongst it.
Goodness me, Blake Walsh has fallen quite a ways back there. Looks to be on the verge of dropping out of the top 10. But have a look at Clayton Tilley, Clayton Davies, all fighting here with Aidan Beerline. Fantastic stuff as Tilley has made his way up into third. The caution flag is back out again. We've had another problem. It looks like that's Cooper Dunn, who's having to make his way back up to speed. That's a shame for Cooper. Let's see what happened to him on the virtual racing school replay. It looks like it was contact. Oh, hello. Yeah, Greg Chandler, I think, might be in a bit of trouble there. Braden Shute and Nathan Norman were a bit slowed up coming out of turn 4, and Brenton Hobson had to check up. Chandler also did as well, but that sent him right into the path of Cooper Dunn.
And you saw it there as well. Hayden Vickers getting his elbows out and wheels locking with Blake Walsh and a couple of others ending up in the wars in the background as well. So it's all going off throughout the field at the moment, especially in that mid-pack where everybody is so closely packed together.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be 6 laps to go when the green flag flies again, and since it was pretty much back-to-back cautions, it's going to be a single file restart here, and Tim Ryan is really... Oh, hang on. I think he was looking to go early there. Bit of a practice start behind the pace truck. But it is in the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events rulebook. If a caution comes out in the final 10 laps, or if there's back-to-back cautions, then it's going to be a single file restart, and I think that's going to give a slight advantage to Ryan. He's not going to have to worry about anyone on his outside here. He gets off to a good start as Berkeley and Tilley try to dip down to the inside to shorten the length of the circuit. Beerline and Davies went forward as well. Have a look at Clayton Tilley. He is right on the back of Joel Berkeley now. As we come around to start lap 31, it's going to be 5 to go this time by. With Tim Ryan not as far ahead as he might like to be. Still under a lot of pressure here from the other players in the top 3. And we see Daniel Evans going for the inside on Aidan Beerline just behind the battling pair of Tilley and Berkeley. There is the inside run from Clayton. And oh no, they come together and John Berkeley sent over the berm. Goodness me, he's going to be sent all the way to the back of the grid. Or near enough. That is such a shame there for Berkeley. With a great fight for second place, and I'm getting the feeling that Clayton Tilley might get in trouble for that. It was a adly executed slider. Moved up to the top of the circuit, but Berkeley was still holding the outside, and over he went.
Yeah, I can see what Tilley was trying to do, but unfortunately Berkeley was coming in with a head of steam and there was no room, unfortunately, so Berkeley ended up off of the road, and I would not be surprised if there is indeed an end-of-line penalty coming Tilley's way as a result of what's happened there.
Yeah, that is a big shame. Joel Berkeley has moved down the order a fair way. Just going to check to see where he actually is. He's down in 11th at the moment, is Joel Berkeley. So he'll want to try and preserve a top 10 finish here, but those are some valuable championship points that he's missed out on. And Clayton Tilley, as expected, has been given an end-of-line penalty by race control. So that promotes Aidan Beerline into second and Daniel Evans into third. Clayton Davies still has a shot at a podium here. Oh, you just saw in the background there, Joel Berkeley letting Clayton Tilley know what he thought of him, swerving over on him. I think Tilley will probably just be thinking, look, I don't think that's quite necessary. The damage is done. I've been given my penalty, you know?
Yeah, certainly, but it's not at all over, and you know the rivalries are going to continue as the season goes on, so we'll have to see what may or may not come of that. But Berkeley's going to be very, very fired up and will want to make his way forward as quickly as he possibly can with the limited number of laps that we've got left. Tim Ryan off on the green flag, and a very, very nice jump from himself, and Evans looking to pressure Beerline as well for the final spots on the podium.
3 laps to go then here at Lernerville. Daniel Evans up the inside of Aidan Beerline. Can he get it done for second place? Can Clayton Davies still reclaim a podium position? Evans getting a great exit off turns 3 and 4, just moving ahead of Aidan Beerline, but Beerline getting the exit round the outside. Big pressure for those guys. Tim Ryan's going to sail on ahead here. Final lap for the championship leader as it's on for second again. Daniel Evans, Aidan Beerline, Clayton Davies, Brady Baldwin there in 5th place. Let's see how it works out. Evans is just ahead of Beerline in turns 3 and 4, but Tim Ryan's going to come across the line to win the feature, and that is a super close finish. Goodness me. Who ended up crossing the line ahead there? It looks like Beerline managed to take second, and at the line, Clayton Davies, I think, might have. Oh, I think it's a bit close to call. I think Davies might have just not managed to get it done on the number 44 of Daniel Evans. We get a virtual racing school replay of that one.
It's very, very close, but I'm pretty sure it was in favour of Davies, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll slow-mo it here. Slow all the way down. Ah, it almost seems too close to call. I honestly don't know who finished ahead there. Might have to leave that down to race control to confirm. But one thing is for sure, Tim Ryan coming away with the win after coming out on top in the pole shuffle. So his championship lead is going to continue to extend here.
Yeah, it certainly is going to extend as a result of that win, and all those very, very nice results. A pretty much clean sweep entirely from round 3, and he'll be very, very happy as a result of that. And sounds like Clayton Davies is indeed going to end up with that P3 finish as well.
All right, so there we go. Your top 3, Tim Ryan, Aidan Bierlein, and Clayton Davies. Fantastic racing once again here in the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Power Series. We're going to go into driver interviews as we enter our post-race coverage, and the first driver we're going to speak to is Tim Ryan. G'day, Tim. Back onto the top step for you in round 3.
Yeah, I thought I'd pull my head in after the first 2 weeks' performances were pretty average. Even tonight wasn't too good, but yeah, doing our best.
Well, it certainly seemed like easy pickings for you in your heat and then in the early stages of the feature as well, but you're really starting to get some pressure put on you from Joel Berkeley. Were you disappointed that Berkeley had his incident with Tilly?
Yeah, just towards the end, obviously with the lap count, I pulled that gap at the start with Joel, and it was pretty treacherous towards the top, so I started running probably about 3/4 up through 1 and 2, and then just starting to underdrive the car a little bit just to be safer. That's kind of why the gap come down towards the end a little bit, just trying to manage it, because it's just so easy to stand on it. I can't swear in the broadcast, which I hate, but yes, stand on it. So yeah, that's why I started to back it up a little bit.
And we got a question coming in from one of our other commentators here from SimSpeed TV, Bo Albert. How was your tyre wear?
My tyre wear finished with 100% tonight, so yeah, it was nice and easy on the throttle. If only I could get 100% in real life, I'd be able to finish some races.
Well, either way, worked out well for you here at Lernerville, and you remain on top in the championship standings, so the momentum is continuing.
Yeah, honestly, I just do this race for a bit of fun. Have Thursdays available, and yeah, I've actually jumped on an hour early tonight, thinking the race was at 6 p.m. WA time, but turned out I was an hour early.
Oh well, there we go again, Tim. Top spot for you. Anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Bo Albert for supporting me and wearing my t-shirts. He worked in the merchandise trailer tonight, and yeah, he did a really good job. Apparently we sold out, so thanks for that, Bo. Yeah, everyone else at Logitech G Ultra C Sports, our partners, Logitech G, Astro Gaming, and obviously VRS, and everyone for putting it on. Cheers, boys.
Tim Ryan there, winner of the feature tonight here at Lernerville. Next up, we're going to talk to Mr. Aidan Bierlein, stood by with Cameron Dance.
Yeah, certainly a very, very close, but so much so it ended up being a very, very nice night for you, Mr. Bierlein.
Yeah, it was for sure. I thought for sure I had like a 4th. I thought I lost both spots to Davies and Max, but apparently I did it, thankfully, and got lucky enough to came home with 2nd.
Now, we saw across the race, obviously, the track develop in various different ways. Was there any specific line you found to be better than the other? We saw you run the top, we saw you run the bottom, and also the middle. Was there any specific line you found to be better of the lot, or was it just trying to run what everybody else was doing?
I was mostly actually trying to do the opposite, run when no one else was going, but I found the middle, bottom-ish, it was working for me at the end. Before that, I was way off pace running the top, so thankfully I found the bottom quick enough to be able to drive up to 2nd.
Well, it made it work in the end. We head to Williams Grove next week. Thoughts, and are you looking forward to it at all?
Probably not. I don't really like 360s there. I don't normally do good, but hopefully we can get a top 3 or top 5 finish out of it and continue our points hunt for a top 5 in points.
Definitely. Well, before we let you go, just any thanks, shout outs, who gets it done?
First off, I'd like to thank Jesus Christ, my mom, my dad, Reflection Cabinetry, Extreme House Buyers, Dave's Truck Service, Beerline Trucking, and y'all for putting on an amazing show, and congrats to all the other winners.
Jesus certainly took the wheel on that finish. It was incredibly close for second, third, and fourth. That's Aiden Beerline. Fantastic second place here tonight. The final driver interview for the night as we take a look on the broadcast replay at just how close that finish was. Clayton Davies in the number 50. He just got away with that by a whisker.
Yeah, towards the end, the car was kind of slipping away from me, and I was kind of getting a bit desperate, and I had to, with that last caution, just kind of take a second breath and try and pull myself together and really try and keep an eye on them and make really close observations of where they were lacking to try and make a move at the end. And I noticed a little bit of a gap in 3 and 4 where I was building space on them each lap, and I thought, well, I've got to chuck it on this last lap because it's the only opportunity I'm going to get before they cover it back up. And thankfully it worked out for me.
Yeah, certainly did, and I think the momentum is with you as well. Of course, you won the feature last week at Cedar Lake, and with a podium here at Lernerville, certainly the form book is nice and consistent for you.
Yeah, definitely, especially after missing the first round, being on holidays. It's good to come in with some consistency and go back-to-back podiums. I'm just really stoked with the consistency I've been keeping up lately.
Well, we head to Williams Grove next week, Clayton. We heard that Aiden Beerline wasn't quite looking forward to it. He doesn't enjoy 360s around there. Do you?
Williams Grove, surprisingly, is actually probably my favourite track. I'm not the best in the 360. It's probably something that I'll have to look into in the week and try and improve on, just with like finding where the sweet spot is there. But in most other cars there, it's easily one of my favorites, so I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Before we let you go, Clayton, anyone that you'd like to thank from your third spot on the podium?
First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast for us. Brady and Bob for putting on the league. Sponsors and partner-wise, I'd like to thank Western Machine Shop, Atlantic Oil, P1 Performance Race Gear, AC Sports, Cricket Motorsports, SRT Australia, BK Design, CD Cinematography, ABR Setup Shop for supplying another rocket setup. And thanks again.
Clayton Davies, number 50, third place by, I think, a bit less than 1,000th of a second here at Lernerville Speedway tonight. Well, that brings to an end proceedings for this evening, Cameron. As we've mentioned, we come to Williams Grove for the 4th round of the championship. A good old-fashioned paperclip at one of the most historic dirt ovals in America.
And probably one of the toughest ones to race around, especially when the track gets very, very worn. So looking forward to seeing what's going to happen and who's going to be able to try and take it to Tim Ryan, whether Tim's going to go another win in the bag or whether he's going to end up possibly having to do battle with someone else.
Let's see how things go for our field of 360 sprint cars. I'm Reese Gardner, Cameron Dance alongside me, and Jay Kennedy behind the scenes directing here on SimSpeed TV. This was the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Sprint Car Power Series. The second season of this championship is turning out to be an absolute belter, and we hope that you can join us next week at Williams Grove. Thanks very much once again to everyone for watching, to SRT Australia for your support of the series, and we will see you in just a week's time.
Fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's over the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?